Today I saw a video that showed a woman, specifically a white woman painting some BLM graffiti on a road with black paint. She was covering it up. And you have people saying, oh, she's a racist and whatever. And she was accompanied by a white man. And I'm assuming that they are husband and wife. I don't know. But they were painting the big old BLM letters on the road with black paint. They were covering it up. People were saying, oh, look, these people are racist, they're evil, whatever. And it's just so aggravating. It's so aggravating, this whole thing. Like, you do something against BLM. You say something against BLM. You are automatically labeled as though you are like a member of the SS and you're about to go massacre some villages. It really is insanity. It truly is insanity. Like, they want to remove the statue of St. Louis, King St. Louis, in the city of St. Louis. The city is named after this French king. It's called St. Louis. And they're like, we have to remove the statue because racism, because he fought Muslims back in the 13th century. The guy has been dead for over 800 years. He's been gone for almost 1,000 years. Something that happened almost 1,000 years ago. It's like, all of a sudden, we have to remove the statue. He lived almost 1,000 years ago. And he did something fighting Muslims, racism. We have to remove it. It's like, when can people let things go? It's like, yeah, you have some convictions. Yeah, you have some beliefs or whatever. It happened over 800 years ago. And those people who are like, oh, he killed Muslims, oh, he fought Muslims, I guarantee you, those people don't know crap about history, specifically what happened between the Muslims and King St. Louis. They don't know a damn thing. They don't know. I guarantee you, they don't even know that St. Louis, King St. Louis, I guarantee you, they don't even know that he conquered Egypt. I guarantee you, they don't even know he conquered Egypt. It's like, all right, so St. Louis, he killed Muslims, whatever. Wait, tell me the context. What happened? What was the situation? Give me the details. Give me the specifics. Guarantee you. One thing I noticed about all these lefty lunatics, all these leftist types, they're extremely uneducated a lot of the times when they are talking about things like this. Now, some of them are extremely educated, but the left-wingers who are very educated, they, like all educated people, they choose their words very wisely. They don't just blabber their mouths and, oh, racist, like they will give you a context, they'll give you some details, whatever. But these people who are like, well, St. Louis, this French king, you know, he killed Muslims. Well, yeah, he did kill Muslims in a war. He killed Muslims in a war. Why was that war fought? Why was that war fought? Why did St. Louis invade Egypt? Well, the Turks invaded what is today known as Gaza. At that time, Gaza was controlled by Templars. And it was controlled by Hospitallers. It was controlled by Catholic Knights. The Turks invaded Gaza and slaughtered thousands and thousands of Christians. That's what happened. These were not Ottoman Turks. These were Central Asian Turkic people that were Muslim. And they invaded Gaza. And they executed a horrific reign of terror on the Christian population there. And they butchered thousands and thousands of people. In fact, there's a story that you can read in which a group of Turks are stabbing to death Christians inside of a church. And in one particular incident, a Turkish killer, a Turkish soldier, was stabbing these people were marauders. An invader, a Turkish invader, was stabbing a Christian. And as he was stabbing this man to death, he was saying, he was saying something like, let the blood of Christ baptize you, or something like that. It was very demonic, very mocking. So what happened in Gaza under this reign of terror of these Islamist Turkish invaders was horrific. It was so horrific that something had to be done as a response. So the Catholic Church called upon the kings of Christendom to respond. And the only king who actually answered the call was King St. Louis. That was the only king. That's one of the reasons why he is declared a saint. It's because of this great feat that he committed himself to. And so he took an army into Egypt, and they invaded. And he, when he first hit Egypt, he invaded an area called Damiette. Now, Damiette was inhabited by Muslims, and when the Muslims saw the French soldiers coming in from the coast, they ran away. So St. Louis invaded Damiette without even a fight. And there was a church in Damiette that was transformed into a mosque, but originally it was a Coptic church. And St. Louis had that church made back into a church again. It was a mosque when he came in, but he had it to go back to being a church again. So then he just kept going south. He just kept going in deeper and deeper into Egyptian territory, until eventually he hit an area that was controlled by the Turks, and it was called, I want to say it was called Maimuna. And this village was controlled by the Central Asian Islamic fighters, and it was a hell of a battle. And at one point, the Christians were fighting the Muslims in this very narrow alleyway in the town. And well, let's just put it this way. The Christians were devastated. And there was one thing that the Muslims had that the Christians didn't have, and that was blue fire. And you can't extinguish blue fire. And what the Turks would do is they would dip the tips of their arrow with blue fire, and they would fire it on you. And once those arrows hit you, you were engulfed in flames, and it was like getting hit by napalm. You could jump into a river, and you still wouldn't be saved from the fire. You would be burned alive. And another thing that the Muslims did strategically to defeat the Christians was when some ships came into Egypt to provide food for the soldiers, the Turks attacked the ships and took it over. By the time the battle was over, around 35,000 or so Christian fighters were killed, and they were many, many prisoners of war. King Louis tried to settle a peace with the Turks, and one of the agreements was that the POWs would be released unharmed. The Muslims made an agreement. They claimed that they were okay with agreeing to that, but they lied. And once King Louis had left Egypt, the Turks took the POWs and said, convert to Islam or die. And thousands of Christians were beheaded, and many of them converted to Islam. It was a very tragic event, and that battle was probably the most devastating battle in the history of Crusader battles. And in fact, it would be that battle that would really solidify the anti-Crusader movement that was going on in Europe. In fact, as a result of that battle, there were many people in Europe who became extremely anti-Crusader, and there would be a cult called the Shepherds that would rise up as an anti-war movement, anti-Crusader movement, and they actually did a lot of efforts to try to take over France with violence, and it didn't end very well for those guys. But that's a different story. My point is, when we're talking about King Louis, Saint Louis, we have to know the context in which he was fighting Muslims. It wasn't like he just woke up in the morning and say, I just want to kill me some Muslims in the morning because I'm a racist, fascist pig. I want to kill... It wasn't like that. It was a battle that was fought. He invaded Egypt. because the Turks were controlling Egypt and they invaded Gaza, which was controlled by the Christians. Gaza borders with Egypt, so it made sense for King Louis, strategically speaking, to invade their headquarters, which was in Egypt. That's what that was. It's like Japan attacks the United States, Japan attacks a naval base in Hawaii, and America eventually just invades Japan. Hit them where they're home. Hit them where they live. It's a strategy that's done in warfare. Has nothing to do with race. It's the most retarded thing I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of retarded crap in my life. It's one of the most demented, most mentally ill-filled things I've ever seen in my life. This is a statue of a guy who fought Muslim. We have to take the statue down. You got to be a very uneducated person to actually put some support or some praise for anything as stupid as that. And I mean that 100% with all sincerity. I am still waiting for the statue of Darwin in, I think, where? Seattle, to be taken down. There's a statue of Darwin in the United States. That needs to be taken down. Charles Darwin was the patriarch of scientific racism. I'm waiting for that statue to get taken down. I'm waiting for the whole school board, like the entire apparatus of American academia, to say, hey, we're no longer going to praise Darwin. We're no longer going to have Darwin Day. We got to get rid of Darwin Day. The atheists would be pissed off, but we got to get rid of Darwin Day. The Smithsonian needs to get demolished because we know that the Smithsonian had connections to eugenics back in the day. Max Planck Institute, that also needs to go. What else? Rockefeller, Carnegie. We got to get rid of all that stuff. Get rid of all that stuff because it all has roots and has a huge history in eugenics. Got to get rid of all that crap. Oh, yeah. Why are we still praising Margaret Sanger? Didn't Hillary Clinton praise Margaret Sanger? Didn't Obama praise Margaret Sanger? We got to stop doing that because these people were racist. I mean, why aren't they doing that? You see, once you actually factor in this reality, like you want to pick on St. Louis, you want to pick on Jefferson, you want to pick on Washington, you want to pick on these people because, oh, you know, some of them owned slaves or some of them fought Muslims or whatever. But you don't want to take down the statue of Darwin. You don't want to take down Margaret Sanger. You don't want to take down Rockefeller. You don't want to take down Carnegie. You don't want to take down the Smithsonian. You don't want to take down Darwin. And these people never say, hey, let's stop teaching evolution because evolution is the foundational underlying ideology of scientific racism. No. They never say these things. See, once you factor in that, then you know that it's complete BS and this whole thing is controlled for some sort of reason that is not what they specify. Their motives differ from what they claim. That's the bottom line of this whole thing. And these people, it's like you read the literature coming out of these people. You read the articles coming out of these people. Systematic racism, countless blacks murdered by police every single day. They be killing us, hunting us down, hunting us black men down every single day. Oh my God. Okay. I was looking into Syria today. You know, the world has forgotten about Syria. Have you noticed that? The world has forgotten about Syria. Syria is still a hellhole because of what the United States, NATO is doing. Syria is still a hellhole. If you look at pictures from Syria, where the fighting has been going on, Syria looks like something, and I mean this with all sincerity. I'm not exaggerating. Syria looks like something from a post-apocalyptic movie. It is in a completely dystopian state right now. It's like watching Children of Men. 16 or 15%, I want to say 15 or 16% of Syria is controlled by Turkey. Imagine if 16% of the US was controlled by Canada, Russia. That would horrify you, wouldn't it? That's what's happening in Syria. And in these Turkish-occupied areas, people aren't even using the Syrian pound. They're using the Turkish lira, which means that Syria isn't even a country anymore. It's not a country. It's a bunch of fragmented regions. Some parts controlled by the US-backed Kurds, some parts controlled by Turkey, some parts controlled by, quote-unquote, the Syrian government, which is really just a Russian satellite at the end of the day. Syria is no longer a country. And people are saying, well, Trump's not that bad. He didn't get rid of Assad. Why the hell would you have to get rid of Assad? You don't have to at this point. He ain't got a country to rule any longer. But you look at how many hundreds of thousands of people dead or displaced in Syria. Horrific. Absolutely horrific. It's like something from the Holocaust. It's like something from the Second World War, where you got the psychopath SS Nazi officers invading some Belarusian village and killing everybody and displacing the rest of the population and enslaving a bunch of people on top of that. And we want to talk about cops being Nazis? Like, hey, officer, how you doing? Oh, nothing. Let me see your ID. Here you go, officer. Oh, put my hands in the steering wheel. Being very cooperative. Okay, thank you very much, officer. We want to talk about some guy who tried to shoot, who stole the taser from an officer and then turned around to shoot the officer with the taser and then got shot in return. We want to talk about that like it's some sort of a crime, like it's some sort of a massacre that happened when all this stuff is happening in Syria. I was reading up on the Yugoslav wars in the 1990s. This didn't happen in the 1930s. It didn't happen in the 1940s. What happened in Yugoslavia happened in our lifetime. I was alive when it happened. All of you guys watching were alive when it happened. It happened in the 1990s. And between 130 to 140,000 people were killed in the Yugoslav wars. People were hunted down like animals, murdered for their organs. Murdered for their organ. I mean, you can't imagine that. You can't imagine it. You can't fathom it. Oh, there's this video that we found recently. I didn't watch it. I can't watch it. There's certain levels of human suffering I can't watch. A woman is being slowly cut by a knife and then beheaded by some narcos in Mexico. And the narcos in Mexico control Mexico. They control the police. They control politicians. They rule Mexico. And we want to talk about some criminal who, in front of a Wendy's, who's drunk off his ass, who attacked some cops and got shot. We want to talk about that as if that's worth destroying a bunch of people's businesses? As if that's worth putting people in danger of getting infected with coronavirus? As if it's like, George Floyd. Oh yeah, now a bunch of black grandmothers are going to die of COVID-19 because a bunch of idiots wanted to go into a crowd of 60,000 people in Houston. Well, I might have COVID-19, but you know what? At least I has justice. You're a real slave. We want to talk about, black people getting hunted down every day. When hundreds of thousands of people killed, displaced in Syria, their country destroyed. It's a joke. This whole movement is a joke. And then you see this video of this couple, they're painting black, this BLM nonsense. It needs to be illegal, this stuff. Like, one thing I like, listen, I've criticized Rudy Giuliani before. I criticized him because he was lobbying for the MEK, which are Iranian terrorists. But I got to give him credit. He cleaned out New York City. He cleaned it out. And one of the things that Giuliani did was he said, hey, listen, if you do graffiti, you're going to get punished. Punished the little crimes in order to prevent the big crimes. This was the philosophy behind the strategy of what Giuliani's administration did, and it was effective. You got to get rid of that crap. And this couple, they're painting black this BLM crap. And this one girl, they're calling them racist, whatever. And this one girl is, like, I guess she's an indígena, an indigenous girl. Or that's what she claimed. I didn't see her face, but I heard her voice. And her voice sounded pretty damn annoying. And she's like, you're the colonizer. You know the voice I'm talking about. You're the colonizer. You guys came from Europe. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, look at these two people. They're Americans. These are Americans through and through. These people aren't European. They didn't come from Europe. I'm willing to assume that they even haven't even gone to Europe in their lives. They haven't been to Europe in their lives. I've been to Europe 3 times. I can tell you right now, when you go to Europe and you see some German guy who's 6'5" and he's got a sophisticated looking suit on and square glasses and he's real quiet, I guarantee you, you're gonna realize these people aren't Americans and Americans aren't Europeans. We're a completely different culture. Yeah, a lot of these people in America, most people in America, their ancestors, yeah, came from Europe. But that doesn't mean that they're Europeans. We're a completely different culture. We got different looks. We got different ways of expressing ourselves. It's a completely different people. Europeans and Americans, completely different. The only people in Europe who have a cultural similarity to Americans are English people, British people. And that's obviously because a lot of people in America are descendants from British people. But even British people are pretty damn different from Americans. Just look at the differences between British rock and roll and American rock and roll. You got post-grunge on one side, and then you got Coldplay on the other. That's 2 different things. These people aren't Europeans. But why do we keep saying, well, you're the colonizer. You came from Europe. These people didn't come from Europe. These people were born here. I guarantee you they haven't even gone to Europe in their lives. They haven't even visited Europe. I doubt they even have visited Europe. The whole thing is just complete BS. It's anti-intellectual. And if you want to sit here and say, well, they came from Europe, so... Oh, and I see these BS memes on Instagram where people are like, rent's due, white people, you gotta pay money because you guys took the land from the indigenas. Indigenas were killing each other before the white man even set foot here. Indigenas were wiping each other out. Let me tell you something, okay, Chicanita. Indigena people were killing each other. There's so much archaeological evidence of tribes massacring each other. Those people were conquering each other. They were killing each other. Europeans came in and they conquered it. Get over it. Who cares? Happened hundreds and hundreds of years ago. That's it. It's like, who cares? Let it go. It's like, listen, I'm ethnically speaking, my father's Palestinian. I'm Palestinian, ethnically speaking, all right? I'm partially Middle Eastern. I can tell you right now, Palestinians need to shut the hell up. They do. They need to shut. So many decades of them complaining about like, oh, yeah, we lost. You lost. Let it go. Make relations with Israel. Stop supporting terrorists. And yes, many Palestinians support terrorists with their voices. Stop supporting terrorists. And all of the racist Israelis, who are a minority, but all of the racist Israelis are saying that Palestinians are violent and they're terrorists, and every time Palestinians support terrorism or commit acts of violence, you're proving their point. So how about this? Be peaceful, stop supporting terrorists, stop backing agent provocateurs like Bassem Tamimi and all these types, and prove the racists wrong. They have no more propaganda to support their position. And you'll have a better life. But no, you guys want to support violence and terrorism. This is the problem. This is the problem. It's like, yeah, we just want to stop police brutality. But then you have a bunch of people with guns, like what happened yesterday in Georgia, a bunch of people with guns who are saying, we're the no effing around coalition. We want to create a black ethno-state in Texas. And then you have black activists who would say things like, oh, look at these brave brothers in arms trying to like show America that they have a voice. You're supporting a bunch of terrorists, supporting a bunch of killers. These people are terrorists. This is like this is like when you have right-wing fanatics who are like, oh, we're not racist. We don't want to kill non-whites. But then you see them supporting like Jack Donovan and the Operation Werewolf types of people who are really just a bunch of ideological terrorists. It's the same thing. There's just so much nonsense in this whole thing. And it's like, we want to create a black ethno-state in Texas. How the hell are you ever going to do that And if you ever did do that, you know what happened in Texas? Texas would become another Liberia, is what it would become. And I don't mean that as a racist thing or anything like that, but that's what it would become. It would become violent. And I guarantee you know what would happen if these people get an ethno-state in America? Do you know what would happen? The light-skinned blacks would start killing and oppressing the dark-skinned, the real dark-skinned blacks. That's what would happen. I guarantee you that's what would happen. Anyway, I've talked long enough for this video. I just wanted to get this rant out because I see so much of this crap. It's so ridiculous. Like, another thing I wanted to add. They say, oh, you came from Europe. This is like when people say to a Middle Easterner, you guys came from the Middle East. Oh, and when they say white people are colonizing black neighborhoods with their businesses, you have a bunch of racists in Europe who are like, we're being invaded by Middle Eastern people. Ring a bell? You people who talk about white colonizers in black neighborhoods, you sound no different than the right-wing fanatics in Europe. You sound no different than the right-wing fanatics in the U.S. who say Mexicans are invading America, Guatemalans are invading America. You guys are no different. Oh, I forgot. It's part of a strategy of tension. You guys are just doing what the other side is doing so you can stoke up the other side, so you can get a violent reaction, so you can start a little race war. You guys came from Europe. These people, most Americans haven't even gone to Europe. Most white Americans have never been to Europe in their lives. There's white people in Afghanistan. Do you know where those people came from? They came from the Caucasus Mountains. Are those people Europeans? Are those white Afghans Europeans now? Did they come from Europe? Are they colonizers? Oh, northern India in ancient times? We're talking way deep into BC days. Though northern India was invaded by a bunch of Aryans who came in from the Transcaucasus region. They came in from Georgia. They came in from the basically from that area, that area between, I want to say like Belarus, Ukraine, Russia. They came in from that area. They invaded northern India. And there's so much archaeological evidence to prove this. If you look at like burial rituals between, burial rituals that have been found in ancient Ukraine, and comparing them to burial rituals found in Afghanistan, like it's just so obvious what happened. Aryans went into Ukraine, they went into Afghanistan, they went into northern India, they invaded. Look at people in Kashmir. Those people are white. Are Kashmiris all of a sudden Europeans? Are they Ukrainians? I mean, how do you think the swastika got to become such a universal symbol? You got swastikas in India, swastikas in Ukraine. How did that happen? Aryan migrations. Are all the northern Indians and Kashmiris, are they also colonizers because the Aryans invaded northern India and enslaved the indigenous population? No one ever says that. Why is there such a double standard? Oh, because you have an agenda and you're not consistent. And the reason why you're not consistent is because your motivations are different from what you claim they are. You guys just want to start crap. You want to provoke, you want to entice, and you want to partake in some sort of a sinister strategy of tension. And you know what you guys are actually doing at the end of the day? At the end of the day, you guys are just promoting racism. You guys are fueling fascism. You guys are facilitating the creation of a militaristic police state. Because if you guys get your way and you start acting violent and all that stuff, crashing, destroying businesses, attacking cops and all that stuff, hating on white people, what do you think is going to happen? You don't think white people have their own paramilitaries? You don't think white people have their own militias? They do. There's a lot of them. They're all over the place. You're only going to justify their own motivations. You're only going to justify their own agenda. The police are going to get so sick and tired of you guys that the police are going to become more violent and more aggravated and more agitated. You're only exasperating the whole thing and escalating. You are accelerating the problem, making it worse. And who's going to suffer? Innocent people, innocent blacks, innocent whites, innocent people in general are going to suffer if you guys get your way. It is so evil what you guys are doing. It's evil. It's satanic. Anyway, again, I've talked long enough. You guys just heard some theology. God bless.